Okay. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I apparently the URL that was used yesterday was different from the recurring meeting that we have, and I apologize for all of that. We'll make sure that it's corrected and it won't happen again. But I think people have been emailing me, and I've been sending them the correct URL. So here we go. Um, you all know me. I'm Judy Shanley, the co-chair of AME50. Excited to speak with you again. We've had a really busy quarter, and looking forward to sharing with you. And when Todd gets on, he'll introduce himself. I have this on recording, so if anyone has any challenges or problems with the recording, please let me know. But we do that because we've got a membership of between members and friends of lots and lots of people, and many can't make it. There's time zone differences that prohibit people from being on. So we always like to have a recording available to those that aren't able to make it. And if the next slide, please. And you'll be hearing today from our other leaders of this group. We have an amazing team of professionals that help support AME50, and you'll be hearing from all of them as we move on through the agenda today. And so here's our agenda. We're going to do a very short recap of Kate, the conference on transportation equity, which was just held last week in Baltimore. It was an amazing conference, and one of our sister committees that's in this section, AME10, is responsible for putting it on. So it was a great event, and we'll just share a recap with you. We'll be talking about the AME50 mentoring program we established, and then Todd and others will be talking about the paper review process for our annual meeting. You've probably seen some correspondence from TRB, and they're going to be reiterating the directions for paper reviews. We need your help, so we look forward to your participation in that. And then I'll be sharing information about a workshop that we're going to be doing at the annual meeting in January. And then we want your ideas on how we can improve our meeting that we have annually at the annual TRB meeting, as well as other facets of the meeting. I'm going to be sharing some general TRB updates. There's been a lot of activity across other committees and in the national TRB as well. So we'll be sharing some updates with you on that. Susan and others will be talking, Sebastian will be talking about the newsletter and the website. Hope you find those tools useful, and you go to our website frequently. That's where we post all of the materials that we're generating and that TRB shares with us. We always have them available on our website. We'll also be providing an update regarding the TransEd conference, which is in 2026. We'll be talking, Yohai will be sharing an update regarding the research statements that have been produced and accepted with TCRP and other panels. We also have an opportunity for our liaisons, and these are individuals that have volunteered to represent both AME50 on other committees, as well as represent other committees and share back with us some of the big happenings. So we've got some reports from our liaison. And then we have an open topic and discussion. We'll talk about some upcoming meetings and conferences and plan for our next AME50 meeting. So next slide, please. Before we start, we like to have a record of everybody that's in the call. So if you could put your name and organization in the chat box, that would be great. And then please, during the meeting, mute your lines when you're not speaking. And we want to be respectful and have one person speak at a time. And if you have questions, please raise your hand. This is a really eclectic group. You all come from different professional disciplines and countries and backgrounds. And so we love the open dialogue and discussion that happens. And if you have a technical issue, please use the chat feature. Next slide, please.
Hey, Judy, are you able to hear me?
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Todd. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
it's okay. I didn't want to interrupt your flow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, please. I have been getting a bunch of emails, so why don't you take over for a bit? I've been getting emails about the wrong URL, so let me address that. And if you want to pick up from here, that would be great.
Sure. So hi everybody, and apologies for I guess the mix-up that occurred on the Zoom link we sent out and everything, but glad looks like people are getting in the room. And unfortunately, I can't join by video, so I'm here at the airport. So hopefully there's not a lot of background noise right now. I tried to find a quiet gate, but for those that haven't met me, I'm a co-chair of the committee along with Judy, Todd Hanson with the Texas A&M Transportation Institute, based out of Houston. And Judy just went over the agenda already, so I think in terms of starting here. I wasn't able to attend the CATE conference. I heard it was a great one. I know Judy attended as well as some others here. So one uh, person we wanted to ask, a friend of the committee, Michael Leonard, I think she was able to join, also at TTI to start with sharing some session highlights and key themes, and then others can chime in. So Micah, are you here?
I'm here. I just turned on my camera.
Hi,
All
Micah.
right.
Nice to see
Hi.
you.
Nice to see you
I
guys too.
You are amazing. Michael had a real big leadership role in planning Kate, so we asked her to share some big highlights from the conference. So thanks for being here.
No, I'm pleased to be here and thank you guys for the invitation. As Todd said, I'm Michael Leonard. I work for TTI alongside Todd on some projects. But I guess on the Kate side of things, the TRB Kate side of things, I was the co-chair for the student coordinating committee. On that part, we really succeeded. We had over 30 students in present, from everything from high school all the way to postdoctorate students. So that was a really exciting feat. And we really did some new innovative like techniques of mentorship, which we're hoping to like kind of gear up for actually all of the different I guess subsections of TRB. So that's something new to come, hopefully for everybody, is the opportunity to be able to engage with mentors for both young professionals as well as students to really gear up people who are interested in these areas of access. But as a whole, the Kate conference was a huge success. I personally walked away with not only friends, but new family, I guess you could say, of this equity space. One that I feel like is so much so important in our communities, and really a big thanks to people like you guys, the AME50, for supporting these endeavors, because the more support that we get from the TRB communities as a whole, the better we can really advance these conversations. But kind of the highlights from the conference that I really wanted to like exhibit, and this is also from Liz Williams as well as Bev Ward, who were the actual like leaders of everything. They really were excited about the unconference. And for those who are unfamiliar with an unconference is a way for people to have a platform to speak about ideas and points of view and projects that don't require a submission of a paper or any sort of approach of formality like that. We did do a quick like quiz before to kind of see what people's interests were geared towards, but overall it was pretty much just led in the moment by the people there. And it really showed the importance of the fact that the formality of TRB panels is not always necessary to really see information and feel information and have a productive conversation in meaningful ways, and really emphasizing that, research is about the people, not the numbers or the heat maps or the diagnostics. And I think that that was a huge takeaway from really the entire conference, which is we are people centric. We are working towards an equitable, people centric. Like Judy said at the beginning, we all come from different backgrounds, But at the end of the day, we're all working towards a better society for people and a better transportation equity space for people. So that was really the biggest like takeaway from all of the conversations we covered, from tribal nations to LGBTQ plus A communities, rural areas, older population, immigrant population, ADA accessibility, gender issues, and pretty much any vulnerable minority community with low income gaps, incarcerated individuals, and the most vulnerable communities that are existing using transportation systems throughout our country. And we also had a presence from international entities as well, such as Australia and Vancouver, so Canada. So that was also really exciting to have a global perspective from more than just a US-centric mindset. And then last but not least, obviously, this is accessibility transportation. So I did want to highlight there were a good amount of sessions that were about engaging communities, but more importantly, in how vulnerable communities can be engaged with and have co-creation with. But there are also the human-centered approaches from inclusive design and accessibility. And the really big one and that I wanted to highlight, and I hope they're here to get my praise, is the My Amble Travel Buddy. And I think that while like they are still working on that, this is a really good framework for focusing on how people can access community and have voice within the transportation systems in their communities. It's a very easy cell phone access way to really highlight what are the obstacles that people are having to access transportation, and more importantly, access their community. And I don't want to speak off my LinkedIn, but I think that I came up with this dialogue in my mind that this weekend of reflecting, and I'm going to give you this as like the takeaway from the entire CATE conference, which is we are a people-centered industry. People are first, and nothing should limit people from accessing their communities. And that it's not a privilege, it's a right for people to be able to access their communities. So I guess with that big takeaway, I hope that you guys are able to kind of see the meeting notes, some of the presentations if you weren't able to attend. And then if you have issues with any sort of accessibility to the website, to seeing all the meeting notes, please contact me. I'll put my email in the chat, and I have all the meeting notes that our students volunteered to take and were so kind to give us their time to take. So with that, that was a long-winded way of saying thank you, Judy and Todd, for letting me be here. And I hope to see the rest of you in 3 years at the next CATE conference.
Thank you, Micah. That was amazing. Thank you for all your work. Can you also put in the chat where the meeting notes and the presentations will be available to the public? Is that going to be on a CATE website or committee website? Just put the URL in the chat, and then just so we have it for our notes. Terrific. I have to relay a story. The mentoring program that they established was a really terrific opportunity for young people new to the profession, to pair with people like me who are seasoned and old. And I was approached by a young woman from Texas who was talking, she was interested in sidewalk accessibility and diversity in the transportation industry, 2 topics that I've been working on. And I met her and I said, "Oh, so what college program are you with?" She was in high school. It just astonished me that this young woman was so entrepreneurial and just so inquisitive about the industry that she wanted to have mentors that are in the profession, that are in the industry, that she could learn on. And so I think that's a lesson for us all, that we could be helping support the future generation of leaders in our industry. So thank you, Micah. I was impressed with CATE because of their expansive definition of disability, of diversity and equity. And often when I go to meetings and diversity is talked about, people with disabilities are not considered. And there was a nice balance of different representation of diversity. So thanks, Micah. Next slide.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So speaking of the mentoring program, this is a topic that was just near and dear to my heart, and I failed, I think. We haven't gotten a lot of people to sign up as mentors. We haven't gotten a lot of people to sign up as mentees. We have the URLs there where you can sign up, but I want to use the model that Kate developed in terms of mentors and mentee pairings. I'm going to try to do that in a more deliberative way. So look out for emails from us about the program. I think it just has such potential, and it my fault that we haven't really expanded it as I think it could be. So look out for some communications from me on that program.
Hey,
Next
Judy,
slide. Yeah.
I wonder, sorry, this is Todd. I wonder if with, and I'm not familiar with what Kate's uh, doing with their mentor program, but I wonder if there is enough overlap in goals in terms of the folks signing up for that program and what we're looking to do with this. If maybe, rather, maybe there's an opportunity for collaboration and sort of thing. And I don't know, Micah or others, or if you know more about who we can get in touch with about that.
That's a great idea. That's exactly, because it's very much the same audiences and the topics are so overlapping. So that makes sense. So if anyone has anyone representing Kate in addition to Micah want to offer any feedback on the viability of that, that would be great. But certainly I'll reach out to Micah and others associated with Kate. And I think it's a good strategy, good idea. So thanks, Todd. Next slide.
So I can talk about this on the paper reviews, and I'm not sure if Chungbo is here or not, but I'll start, and then if he's here, he can chime in. I'm at the mercy of my mobile phone right now, so again, apologies for my trying to see the slides and everything. But on the paper reviews, we talked a little bit about this at the spring meeting. That it's going to follow a similar process this year as in previous years, in terms of the full length papers that get submitted for TRB annual and as well as TRR, I believe, in terms of the similar process for submitting a paper either for just presentation, and then people submitting a paper can also submit for presentation and publication consideration to TRR. So the messaging we got in terms of the latest is that it's going to follow the similar approach to last year. So we're likely going to take a similar approach as well in terms of our committee review. So we ask, and we'll send out a reminder in terms of doing the steps that are on the slide. But we ask that if you are interested in reviewing the paper, then you follow the steps to go into the TRB editorial manager site. And we have the links in this slide. Hopefully, unlike the Zoom link I sent out yesterday, are the correct ones for each of these steps. So first, going to the editorial manager, confirming that you're able to log in with your credentials that you have, and then make sure your profile is updated in your personal keywords. That includes adding AME50 as one of your keywords. Accessibility is another keyword, and obviously any other committees and topics that you are involved with or want to be involved with, that would be the place to do that as well. And then in addition to personal keywords, there's also a place to add areas of expertise under classification. So this is a step just overall that helps Chungbo and myself in terms of looking at paper review assignments to be able to match papers to folks that are interested in helping our committee and volunteering with this, and also including specific areas of expertise that we can look at the abstract of the paper and help make and the title and help make the good map that way. Chungbo and I have also talked about potentially sending out a survey form of some type. I think we've done this either last year or the year before, and to see if that can be a good way, in addition to the editorial manager keywords and such, to match people to particular topics. And the key thing with this, and we say this for those of you that have attended our meetings for a while, but the more volunteers we get, the easier it is to reduce the load of papers that we assign to people. So our goal is really, and based on the paper assignment load that we've gotten from TRB in the last several years, this is pretty manageable. Our goal is to match each person that wants to help AME50 review a paper. Our goal is to match them to 2, maybe 3 papers, while having 4 to 5 reviewers on each paper. So that's been pretty manageable, unless we see a surge of papers submitted and matched for our committee. We're aiming to do the same, and so we ask that you take these steps in editorial manager. You can also, if you'd like, you can leave a note in the chat, say I'm interested in reviewing. That'll help Chungbo and I flag folks that are interested. So you can just say that now in the chat, or you can email Chungbo and I separately with that. The other part I'll mention, there's a sub bullet here under the bullet that says, process will be similar to previous years. And we also have a link of the TRB general expectations for conducting paper reviews, in terms of how you should do your rating and critique of the paper. But we know that TRB is looking ahead to pilot a short format submission approach, or they want to do this in the future, maybe as soon as next year. The last word we got is that they wanted to pilot something like that for this year. We haven't received more information on what that pilot would be, but that would be concurrent to people submitting further paper reviews. So if we learn more about, and if they proceed with doing a short format submission approach for some folks, in addition to the paper, we'll relay that, and maybe we'll have some like pilot tester sort of folks help with those type of reviews. But I've been talking for a while. Anything I missed, Judy or Chungbo, if you're on the line?
Yeah, Chungbo is on the line. Is there anything
Okay.
else, Chungbo?
No, I think Todd, you covered it pretty well. Yeah.
Great. Terrific. Do review papers. Even if you're new to our committee or to TRB as an organization, it is it's not only professionally rewarding, like you feel like you're giving service to the group, to the profession, but it's really great learning experience. You get to see the kinds of paper submissions that people regard as good work, and it helps. For me personally, I just feel like it's been a really enriching experience in terms of enhancing my professionalism in writing paper. So take advantage of it, and then the kind of the collaborative process with your peers, that maybe we don't always agree on things that we see in papers, but it's just a nice collaborative opportunity. So take advantage of that.
I also want to add, before we move on, this is one of the volunteer opportunities that when we get, we're not here yet, but I think next summer we'll get to a point of like committee rotations and people that are interested in being members of the committee. We want to, Judy and I and the rest of the executive team want to look at folks who volunteer and do different things, in addition to having people of different backgrounds and locations and expertise areas. But this is a volunteer opportunity for those that are interested in getting more involved with the committee, in addition to sharing your expertise, like Judy was saying. So just another thing to keep in the back of your mind.
Yep. Thanks, Kit. Kit put his name in the hat. Thanks, Kit. Next slide. We are so excited that for the past couple of years, you may know that we've had a workshop focused on aviation accessibility. The Air Carrier Access Act was being reauthorized. There were several other pieces of federal legislation or rules that were coming out that we felt like could benefit from the voice of our committee and accessibility topics. And so this year we put in another suggestion for a workshop and innovation, equity, and accessibility in aviation and advanced air mobility. Oh, the places we can go. And it was accepted. So pretty exciting stuff. It's going to be the Thursday morning of the TRB week. And it was a collaboration between 5 committees. So our committee, AVO 10, which is the Committee on Aviation Administration and Policy, AVO 30, Committee on Environmental Issues in Aviation, AVO 95, New Users of Shared Airspace, and APO 20, Emerging and Innovative Public Transportation Technologies. And it's really exciting because this work has not only morphed from airplanes and commercial air travel and the kinds of challenges that we know that people with disabilities face when they are on airlines and traveling, but we're also expanding this to look at advanced air mobility. So things like vertical aviation, the helicopter like modes that are being experimented with now. We want to catch it while that technology is early, right, in its design. We don't want the field to get so far advanced where we've got advanced air mobility and they're not considering accessibility or inclusive design. So we thought by inviting them into the process early that we could influence where they go. So we're really excited. I'm going to put a list of other workshops that were accepted by, we just got notice last week from TRB, the other workshops that will be going on. I'll put that in the chat so you all can, start thinking about your schedule and planning. So, but really exciting. And if, people are interested in that topic to a greater extent, please reach out. So, next slide, please. Yeah, Todd, this is the annual
Yeah.
meeting suggestions. Yeah.
Well, if you go back one slide, Susan, or there was a slide on other workshops, I think after the, looks like it's going ahead.
Go backwards, Susan.
Yeah, sorry, I froze and kept clicking and it's jumped. So let me just work my way
No worries.
back here. Oh gosh, I really went ahead, didn't I? Sorry about that, folks.
It's advancing to the end.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh geez. Okay. Apologies for this.
No,
Let me,
no
let me
worries.
just
Thank
get
you
us
for
to the
doing
right
it.
slide and then
Thank
I'll,
you. Thank you for doing this.
whereabouts are we here now? I've lost.
There, you
I
could
think
start
that
there.
one.
Can I start there? Okay.
Yep.
And let me just change my view. Sorry, folks.
Yep, from current slide.
There
Yep.
we go. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, and then next one.
My screen is freezing, so I'm just going to give it a
Okay.
second so we don't skip ahead again.
Okay.
Well, yeah, while that's happening, so I think the slide after this is just, as Judy mentioned, if you want to get involved with this this workshop and help with the planning and speakers for I think we have a couple, 2 panels planned. One on to hear more from the industry and other to hear more on passenger experiences. So any ideas you have on the content for that, as well as who would be good speakers. We'll probably have a mix of some familiar faces and but also want to have some new voices as well. So let Judy and I know about that. If you go to the next slide, these are some other workshops that in our section that are particularly of interest, that, as Judy was mentioning, that we know got accepted. So we'll see in terms of possible connections with us in terms of, and if people are interested in supporting with the planning of those as well. But just to read them real quick, we have decarbonizing mobility, international perspectives and experiences with congestion pricing and beyond. measuring impacts and performance of transportation resilience efforts, strategies for transportation agencies to address road safety for people experiencing homelessness, gender differences in crash frequency, injury, and outcomes, and community engagement, colon, who's on first, I'm guessing is an Admin Costello reference. But I think with these, I pointed these out in particular because I think even though accessibility is not in the title of any of these, something Judy and I have been wanting to emphasize more is how with topics that we know have a connection to the access and mobility for persons with disabilities. We want to help make that connection and help work with communities to include that as part of the topical content and discussion there. So any ideas you have on that, and you can reach out to us and we can help connect to those committees about including that perspective here. So that's the note I wanted to include. So if you go to the next slide, this is more just general about the TRB annual meeting. Aside from the workshops, we're interested in any ideas you have for how Judy and I and the leadership team can improve what we do at the annual committee, including the other programming like the lectern sessions that we have, as well as the large committee meeting itself. I think the last 2 years since the pandemic, we've done a hybrid meeting, and it's worked decently well. Though we'd like to hear any feedback about how that's worked using the virtual connection, and both for people attending as well as for speakers on the virtual connection. Any thoughts or on that, as well as efforts from other committees that of, other than some that we've already mentioned, or maybe to double down on some we've already mentioned. Any ideas about that? We wanted to not just make a plug for this, but have some discussion here today if people had thoughts on either the hybrid meeting, programming, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll pause for discussion.
And Todd, this is Judy. Just one thing, what we've tried to do over the years is to highlight particular bodies of work or bodies of research going on by having like 7-minute highlight sessions. Did you all feel that was valuable? Should we continue doing that? Is there a different format that we should use? This is your all meeting, right? This is our meeting, and we want to have it as interactive and engaging as we can. So we thought by inviting different speakers to highlight different facets of the research going on, that would be interesting. What do people think? Just put your comments in the chat, or I don't know if I'll be able to see hand raised. Anyone have any thinking? No?
Well, it's Susan. I would just jump in and say I personally appreciated all those brief presentations because you're speaking to such a wide audience. I think we all have slightly different interests in the space. So to be able to hear about a variety of projects that, allow us to follow up on more detail outside of the meeting, I think is, I found it to be a good use of the time, to get a lot of
Right.
information packed in quickly. And just on the hybrid model, I'd love to see us keep doing that. I mean, it just makes the meeting more accessible to those that can't attend, whether it's difficult to travel or slashed budgets for traveling or what have you. And I haven't heard feedback from those, with accessibility needs attending. As to how well our hybrid model worked for that. But anyway, I'll stop there.
Thanks, Susan. It's really good points. I like those presentations because I learn about things maybe I hadn't even thought about that I would be interested in. So, and I see in the chat Dave Summers likes the presentation on recent research. And Roger, you have your hand up. So if you unmute.
Hello. Well, I was just going to say I took part virtually across the Atlantic, and I found it worked pretty well. I mean, I found it I just couldn't get there for all sorts of reasons. This year I hope to be there, but it does work pretty well. I mean, I think it's well worth doing. Obviously, you can extend, attendance at the group worldwide, literally, for many people who just can't travel at all. But so I think it's well worth doing if you can possibly.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Particularly
Roger.
you had an owl going, so we could actually see who was speaking. That worked really well this last time, I think.
Yes, yeah, because you're seeing the whole audience and
Yep.
engaging in the whole audience. Yeah. Doing hybrid, like when you're a facilitator of a hybrid meeting, I have to tell you, in my professional work on FTA funded projects, we try to do hybrid meetings, and it's hard sometimes to try to engage those people that are remote. So I think that for me personally, I could do a better job of engaging those that are remote. But if people have suggestions on how we could do that, I think that's really, maybe we even, this is just me thinking out loud, maybe even some of the highlight presentations that we do are people remote. Because right now we did it, all the people in person were doing the presentations, I believe. So maybe we have highlight presentations from those people who are not able to attend.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And
yeah,
I want to, the meeting owl we borrowed, that's been courtesy of National RTAP
yeah,
for the last 2 years. So we need to give a shout out to them.
yeah,
I've
Robin.
actually, I'm trying to see if I can get one for our work so that I can lend it to AME50 for these meeting purposes. But it's great to hear, Roger, that it's worked well. In being able to hear the conversation in the room and such. So that's reassuring. So we definitely want to continue that, but I'm glad, at least as a baseline of the hybrid approach for what we've been doing, that it's worked well so far.
Nice. And Kit, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm what Roger said. It worked very well for me.
Nice, Kit. Thank you for that. Terrific. Guess we'll move on to the next slide.
It's freezing on me again,
Oh,
so
that's
sorry. So
okay.
I'm gonna, when you see a little pause, that's what it is. I don't want to click ahead too
Okay,
quick.
no worries.
We have storms coming in the area, so maybe that's
Oh,
something to do with the connection.
wow. And I know there's storms in Taiwan. Eden folks, I'm surprised you're on. I heard there were bad storms there. So here we go. TRB updates. Is Bill on or James? Bill is probably recovering from Kate. I don't see him. I don't see him on.
Okay.
So
I think the next few things are things that Bill had sent us, so I can speak to them,
okay,
Judy,
perfect.
in Bill's absence. So if you go to the next slide.
Yep.
So Bill had reached out to Judy and I about basically there's an upcoming conference in Denver in August on, as it says, a symposium of environment, energy, and livable communities. They have 3 tracks within that conference that one is the one on international transportation, economic development, and land use, decarbonizing the transport of people and goods, and then resource conservation and recovery. Bill provided with us a full agenda on that conference, and basically was asking folks in our different committees in our section that were interested in to provide feedback on research needs in both generally with the session tracks and with some of the specific sessions. It's pretty lengthy, so I didn't want to include everything here, but in the PowerPoint. But if there are folks interested in particularly environment and livable communities topics, and again, getting that voice and perspective on needs for persons with disabilities and considerations, then we can forward the agenda and get you connected with Bill and the conference organizers to provide that feedback now in advance of the conference, so that way they're able to include that as part of the discussion. So I think that's the only note on that. I'm not sure if there's anyone here that's planning attending, but let us know in the chat or reach out to us after if you're interested in this. And if there's no questions, we can go to the next slide. So recently, TRIS, which I can't remember what the specific acronym is, but basically the database with different research topics and records and TRID that's connected to it. They wanted to announce that there's some new capability for pre-configured searches in TRID that's available. So I included all the links to the PowerPoint, and we'll share this PowerPoint after in our meeting notes, but along with these links. But essentially, it's pretty neat if you haven't explored it before. They have these different just available kind of keyword searches for different things, like the snap searches. There's two that I highlighted here, one on accessibility and another on social equity and underserved populations, that they're just automatically populated searches of previous or active projects or problem statements, as well as papers and other research that's there. So these snap searches are pretty cool if you like to explore them. And so if you're interested in seeing what's being done and what's on, in discussion of being done, these are I think looks like these are good, valuable resources to consider. And they have this video also from TRID about how to create and use a pre-configured search in the TRID database. So that's another resource they've made available. The other thing they made mention of is the new Journal of Cycling and Micromobility Research. So bicycles and scooters and such has been added to TRIS as well. So and Yohai, this might connect with some of the development of research teams and such discussion that we'll have in a bit. And then the next slide, if there's no questions on this.
Todd, just one thing about those snap
Sure.
searches. When I was at Kate, I picked up, they had hard copies of some of the snap search topics they
cool.
had done. Things like accessibility, economic impacts, public transportation. And I've been sending the electronic versions to people that I work with, to TA technical assistance recipients that I work with that may not have the familiarity with transportation research like we do, such as researchers in Health and Human Services or researchers in Department of Labor. They may find a lot of these resources useful. So we're not speaking to the choir. That's what the really neat thing about these SNAP searches is. It's a compilation of all of the related research and resources coming out of TRB that pertain to topics, and they're really useful. So go online, download the SNAP searches that you feel are relevant to your field, and use them to educate people that aren't associated with TRB. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. And then this note on the USDOT equity plan, Judy and I got yesterday, but we wanted to include it here because there is a webinar, public engagement webinar about it tomorrow from 1 to 2 Eastern Time US. But essentially USDOT has released their update of their equity action plan. And both individuals or volunteers are able to respond either as an individual or through your employer, or TRB committees like ours can collectively respond to the request for information, noting that as a committee, we're not allowed to make advisements or recommendations for action for federal agencies to do. But I haven't taken a look at this equity action plan yet, but I think this is something that maybe we could put together a core group of folks to take a look and provide our voice and perspective on this. So the equity action plan link is the first link, and then there's a request for information, that second link. And again, we'll provide these in the minutes in the PowerPoint. The RFI my interpretation said register by August 14th. I think that's when we're supposed to provide comments by. So it's basically 2.5, 3 weeks. A little bit of a short turnaround, and then the webinar about the public engagement for this is tomorrow. I don't know if that's specific to just responding to the RFI or if that includes other components or whatnot. I won't be able to attend that webinar. I don't know if there's a couple folks either from the leadership team or other members and friends that would like to be involved with this that could attend. Obviously, it's short notice, but we wanted to plug it while we could here. So any questions on that? And I can't see the chat, unfortunately, if there's comments there.
Yeah, I don't see any comments pertaining to these particular issues.
Okay.
I see Bern is with the Urban Robotics Foundation. He shared something on mobile robots adjacent to micromobility. And then a question was asked about what is our definition of highlighted presentations for the annual meeting. So I put in our thinking on what that is.
Oh, great.
But I didn't see any other chat.
Well, if there are folks interested in the Equity Action Plan, you can comment in the chat or obviously reach out to the Judy and I and the leadership team about it. Again, we just learned about this yesterday, so we're we need to collect our thoughts about it as well. And I think if you go to the next slide, that's so now we're at communications.
Susan, Sebash?
Thanks. Okay. Well, for the newsletter, of course, I feel like a bit of a broken record, but we send it out quarterly, usually within a few weeks of our quarterly meetings. In order to avoid them being too repetitive of what's being heard in the meeting and our meeting notes, submissions are welcome. So if anyone would like to contribute anything of interest that we could include, as long as it aligns with our guidelines, which are found on our website, that would be great. We've also mentioned the idea of having a guest editor who may want to take on an issue, and it wouldn't have to be looking at the whole issue necessarily, just either themselves creating or sourcing an article or two that we could include. So if that's of interest to anyone, please let me know. I think I'll try and get my email in the chat at some point, but it is on our website as well. And I'm not sure if Subash is here with us today to talk about the website.
Yeah, I think he's on.
Okay.
Sebash, are you able to speak? Oh, good.
Yes.
Sebash, do you want to say a few words about the website?
Yeah, sure. Yes, definitely. So we have a very robust website, running website, which has constantly, we are updating the website with various stuff. I'm hearing some background noise.
That's the airport
Okay,
noise, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So on the homepage of the website, you get all the latest committee announcements and any changes. Any new item that we put on the website, it's available on the homepage itself under the heading committee announcements. And you can follow the hyperlinks from the homepage itself to know what new has been updated on the website. We have various links on the website, like newsletter, it's regularly posted there. We have a section also on committee resources where you can look at the reading resources that are being added onto it. There is also a link to the used websites that are important for our work. There is regular update on committee meetings, so all the minutes, the slides used in the meeting, meeting notes, meeting recordings, all this information is usually made available on the website. So folks who are missing out on one or some of the meetings, you can always go back to the website and have these notes and meeting recordings on the website.
Thank you, Sebash. Yeah, for those of you who aren't as familiar with any of our historical information, there's some great accounts that others have written about past TRB, our committees, Trans Ed meetings. So there's a slide that has the URL for our committee, and there's a link also to related resources. We have to be a little careful about the amount of content that we share, and also the nature of content. We can't sell and we can't endorse any particular products, but if there's any resources that or projects you've been involved in that you want to post to our website, please share that with myself and Sbash, and we'll hopefully post it. If you think it's going to be interesting reading and a resource for other members and friends, please do so. So any questions about the communications newsletter websites? Hope you're all receiving them quarterly. Any questions, please? Susan and Sebastian are amazing communications people for our AME50 for our group, so reach out. So next slide, please. Trans Ed conference planning. So it's now Trans Ed 2026. Our conference planning has been quite slow, but we have a group of faculty researchers from the University of Loughborough, which is south of London in the UK. And Kit or Roger, if I really messed up that, I'm apologetic. I had asked when I started talking with this team who was interested in planning Trans Ed, I asked them how to pronounce it, and I wrote it out phonetically, and now I can't remember how I said it.
It's pronounced Loughborough, and it's north of London. It's in the Midlands, not south of London. But anyway,
Oh, I thought it was south.
Loughborough. Loughborough.
Loughborough. Okay.
That's it. You got it.
All right. Oh, I'm a UK person now, right?
You are.
Well, this group of people, they've expressed interest. They have convened conference planners, researchers, and we are just waiting to have a meeting with TRB to confirm their support of the conference in the ways that are realistic for the way they typically support conference. It's easier, obviously, for them to support a domestic event as opposed to an international event. But right now we're talking the summer of 2026. And so we'll be asking, I know many of you have offered to volunteer to be part of a planning group, and we know who you are, but if there's others of you who want to be part of Trans Ed 2026, please let me know. And as soon as we get the go-ahead from TRB, we'll convene a full planning meeting. Right now, it's the conversations have been with Todd and myself and the planning team from the university. So it looks really promising, and we're just waiting for the go ahead from TRB, which hopefully will come imminently. But it will definitely have to start planning in earnest. We know how complicated sometimes these events can be, and I think that the folks that just planned Kate can attest to that. So we'll keep you posted. We'll send out a note when we can have a larger meeting when we get the go ahead from TRB. So Micah wants to help out. Yay. Thanks, Micah. You're not burnt from Kate. That's great. And if anyone has any thoughts along the way, please always reach out to me. Okay, thanks. Next slide, please. Research statement teams. Yohai? Todd?
Hi there.
I think there you go, Yohai. Go ahead.
Hi. All right. Thanks, Judy and Todd. Just wanted to share some updates on our current research teams. For folks who are new to this, this is a way to work on developing research problem statements. And our committee has been a part of lots of different research problem statement development collaborating with other committees and working in our own to develop ideas that we think need to be researched. So this is a great opportunity to get what you think needs research to be involved in a national platform. And then we work to publish those statements and then also submit them for potential funding through the Transportation Research Board's cooperative research programs. So I have some links in the slides here that were sent out yesterday. If you look at the planning page, that's really where you can kind of get a sense of how this all works and learn about what the different topics have been and how we can suggest new topics. Kind of try to organize this all in this Google Drive folder so folks can get a sense of how it all works. But it really is driven by folks on the committee, friends and members who think a topic is important, and I help to organize the team and help to advise the team on submitting the statement. So I'm not necessarily the person who's writing the statements, although I have been involved with writing before, but I do help to try to organize and push the team towards submitting the statement. So we had one statement that we supported that was submitted for TCRP consideration this summer on tactile walking surface indicators. And we have several other teams. If you go to the next slide. Here's a list of what we call the mini teams who these are topics that different members and friends have suggested and that people have signed up with on that page. I have to say that our teams have kind of dwindled in their meeting and excitement. With a lot of times the energy comes from the in-person meeting at TRB. But happy to kind of restart any of these. A lot of times it's that kind of push and momentum comes from the person or people leading or co-leading the team. So happy to start and rework with folks on these teams who want to get these started. We had topics, I think these are really interesting topics and ones where we definitely do need more research. Accessible bicycle infrastructure and programs, best practices for evaluating transportation equity, service quality and assessment, broadband equity and mobility access, ride-hail costs for disabled community, obstacles in terms of their degree of their severity, artificial intelligence, and accessible transportation. So all these have been brought up, and each of these teams is kind of at different stages. Some have met and started to formulate ideas, started to do some lit reviews on the TRID that Todd mentioned. Some have not met yet. I want to thank Kaylin Levin from East Carolina University, who's also been supporting this work to help the mini teams in their idea development towards making statements. So wanted to also, I guess, share here. So feel free to email me at this point to, if you wanted to join one of these teams or wanted to restart a team. Again, it really builds on those who want to kind of take the lead on a topic. And if you have any new ideas as well, feel free to share them in the chat, or if you'd like to email me as well, and we can see about restarting some of these teams. Some of the big timelines in terms of when the statements are submitted to the CRP panels. One is in November, so November 1st is typically the timeline for NCHRP that focuses on highways and roadways. And then the TCRP is more in March and then June. And then February is also January and February are also another time for both NCHRP, and then there's a new behavioral focused cooperative research program as well, and an air travel focused one as well. So yeah, so encourage you to look at the Google Drive, reach out, but hoping we can get a few more teams going to work to submit more statements. Thanks.
Yo, hi, this is Todd. I'd be, and I'll follow up in the Google Drive, but I'd be interested in the ride hail cost mini team, depending on where that is in
Okay.
terms of development.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Todd.
Great. Any questions for Yohai? You know, being part of these writing teams to submit ideas is really a great way to learn, but also serving on panels, whether it's across NCHRP or TCRP or even the AIR panel. I've been noticing over the years that the CRP program has really acknowledged the importance of universal design, universal mobility, inclusion, accessibility. So even though a topic may seem out of our scope, the need to have people like us who are knowledgeable regarding accessibility and universal design issues is really important. So they welcome our participation. And bring it back to your work. Like everything, I mean, obviously there's confidentiality in terms of the review process for applications, but if there's content that you learn or glean through your participation in these review panels, it's amazing and it positively affects your work. So put your name in. You could self-nominate or you could have other people nominate yourself for one of these panels. So take advantage of that.
Yo, hi, I might have missed. Sorry, this is Todd again. When is the next, for particularly for TCRP and NCHRP, and I guess then there's ACRP and the behavioral BTS CRP, I think. When are the deadlines for problem statements and synthesis statements?
Yeah, so typically those are November 1st is for NCHRP. January is for the behavioral transportation program. February is another one for NCHRP for synthesis statements. March is for TCRP for synthesis statements. And then I think June is for TCRP synthesis statements.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks for that recap. Yeah, I think the other, just to emphasize, and then we can move on, is that for those that aren't familiar, synthesis statements are more state of the practice of what's occurring in the topic area, whereas a research problem statement kind of goes beyond that to develop new resources and has more like analysis and tools potentially as part of the development. So that's another distinguishing thing. So there's some topics that, you know, maybe there's not a good present understanding of state of practice, that a synthesis is more appropriate. And then others that, you know, there's really a need for like resource development. And that's where those full larger research problem statements and projects come into play.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Todd Yohai. Next slide, please. So I'll introduce this if that, and Todd piggyback on what I'm going to say. We in our attempt to really collaborate and coordinate our activities with other TRB committees, we've established these liaison roles, liaison position, and they're individuals who volunteer to both attend meetings that are hosted by other TRB committees and bring that information back to our committee, as well as participate in our committee and bring content that is shared in our committee to these other committees, so that there's just a nice collaboration and current knowledge and sharing about resources. And I think that we've received a couple of reports, and Kristen Gladwin from ACH60 couldn't be on the call, but she talked about they had a mid-year meeting on June 17th and 18th in Washington, D.C., and the meeting focused on performance-based assessment in driver licensing for both young and older drivers. And she is putting the contact person for that committee. We'll include that in our minutes so you have access to that information. And she talked about a special project that might be interesting to AME50 on research in older adults' mobility. There's a meeting summary, and so that might be interesting to all of you. Joanne, I know you're on the call. I think you submitted information about an upcoming conference related to AME20. I don't know if you're in a place that you could speak.
Yes, there's an upcoming conference in Irvine, California in September. And it's Women in Transportation. I believe I sent some links. If that can be included in the notes, that would be great.
Yep.
It sounds really interesting, and I would suggest checking it out. I do believe, though, that there's going to be an increase in price in the beginning of August. So if you are interested, it might be beneficial to take a look now versus in a few weeks. Just mentioning it.
Perfect.
And, that's about it.
Terrific. Thank you for being our liaison. It's an important role. Todd, do you want, I know you have updates regarding some of these other committees, APO 55.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know I heard from a couple people that I wasn't able to put check marks on after I finalized the PowerPoint. And on the subsequent slide, I know we have an update from that Kate Hunter-Saworski provided about research and problem statements in the aviation section that are of relevance. In terms of, I don't think AP055 has had their mid-year meeting yet. But so I know the last I heard is that they're working on collaborating on their next rural transportation conference with National RTAP, and I think that'll be either next year or the following year. So that was the last movement I heard on that in terms of AP055 activities. AP090 had their mid-year committee meeting yesterday, and they actually focused the mid-year meeting. Due to conflict, I wasn't scheduling conflict, I wasn't able to attend, but they actually focused their this is the Transit Data Committee, focused their meeting on having kind of this research mini team sort of discussions and breakouts with that. So I could follow up based on the results of that and see if there were any research statements. Yohai, just remind me about that if there were, and I could see if there were any research statements in particular on transit data that touch on accessibility concerns there. That's kind of the latest of there. They are going to do their transit data challenge, which they've had for the past few TRBs, which is a pretty interesting session and presentation. It's kind of like innovative happenings or technologies and things related to data and information on transit service. So that's always a pretty interesting session. It's kind of a competition sort of thing they do, and they have a judging panel and all that stuff. So I know if you have an interest in that, or maybe have a project for submission, that's open or will be open soon. So those are the updates on from the committees I touched on. AP020, Renee let me know there wasn't an update. This is the Innovative Public Transit Services and Technologies Committee, but I think their mid-year meeting is tomorrow, actually. So for those interested in that, we can get the link to you if you're not already a friend of the committee. Sorry if there's some more noise around me. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, which touches on Kate's update from the Airport Terminals and Ground Access Committee. And Kate wanted to point out that there are a lot of synthesis projects and research projects, either active or upcoming, that touch on accessibility concerns. So I went through and found a few that I highlighted that are particularly the pending ones that are listed, that either explicitly in the title or within the actual statement itself. If you search for these numbers and titles, touch on accessibility concerns. So this could be a place, again, speaking to the panel. I'm not sure where each of these are in terms of panel formation and things, but this could be a place that for those interested in the particular topic, that again we could get connected with in terms of panel representation from our members and friends. And then there's also, they have, as the other programs do, problem statements for FY24 that are available. And I included the link of the FY24 PDF. And you can see kind of some of these have already turned into research and synthesis projects, while others are still under consideration. So that could be another point where we could, for those that haven't been picked up, we could see with the people that submitted it before, or, if it wasn't folks in our committee already, if there's another opportunity for that. So I think that was great, Kate, to point out, and it coincides with a lot that we've talked about on the air travel side, with our workshop and stuff. The actual things going on in the ACRP program. There's a lot active. We talk about TCRP and NCHRP a lot, but keeping ACRP in mind.
And Todd, I know that Sarah Davidson is on the call, and she's the liaison, and Melissa Anderson is also on the call. I didn't know if either one of you have anything to update us regarding your respective committees.
Hi, Judy, this is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, I was able to touch back with ACH40, but they didn't have updates at this time. I let Todd know, but just figured I'd answer since he mentioned me.
Perfect, thanks.
This is Melissa. I don't have any updates from the Roundabout and Intersection Committee either.
Okay, still going round and round, huh, Melissa?
Still going around, still going around.
Great, thanks. And
Thanks.
if you do have any updates, you always could share them. We'll include them in a newsletter. We could include them on our website. So we've got multiple forums through which we could share the updates. So thank you all. Are there any other liaisons on the call that we didn't hit on or hear from? I don't see any hands being raised, but thank you all who have volunteered to do this. I know it's double duty, but the awareness that it raises across committees is really important, and it again affirms the importance of collaboration and affirms the importance of addressing accessibility in everything that we do. I always say that transportation and mobility affect everything we do, kind of aligned with the social determinants of health. So similarly, the focus on accessibility and inclusive practice across all of the committee work is important. So thank you for what you do. Next slide. This is Joanne's, the link that she provided regarding the International Conference on Women in Gender and Transportation. She mentioned September 9th and 11th in Irvine. There's a URL there. We just got, I guess it was yesterday, Todd, that an upcoming TRB webinar on tactile wayfinding and improving access for people with disabilities. And so that I think there might be a date already, no?
There's not a date already. This is kind of, Judy and I got the behind the scenes since we supported this webinar, but they're going to schedule for likely in September and get an actual date. I didn't see a date in the email. If there is one already, we'll send it out in our subsequent meeting notes and such. But yeah, it's exciting. This webinar is happening. It's in discussion about the TCRP research report 248. They came out earlier this year, I believe. So this will be a great opportunity to hear from the people behind the report, and research and the outcomes from that. So we'll if there's a date already, we'll include it. in the follow-up to this. Otherwise, obviously we'll help pass along the announcement when it's actually scheduled, so that people can register for it.
Nice.
put a
It's so
link.
nice. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'll put a link to that report in the chat box too, because
Oh,
the
good.
report's been out for a little while.
Thank you, Melissa. I love when I get to see research to practice. So this is the having a webinar on the research that's being conducted is a implementation piece. And we often, sometimes researchers focus on the research and they don't think about how this is going to be disseminated or implemented or make it practical. So I love when there's webinars that really follow the research that you all do. So
this is Kate. I was hoping to do the hands up raised, but also the problem statement that we have about the tactile warning surfaces and transit station. That is a direct offshoot from this particular research project. And there were a number of people that are on the call that were part of that panel. And this is really exciting to see the continuum and the continued involvement of making improvements. So thank you all.
Very cool. Yeah, I participated in a National Academy of Sciences Executive Committee meeting not too long ago. They asked me to speak on access to transportation and healthcare. And one of the points that many of the committee shared was they want there to be the implementation side of what they do. They need to have a continuum of different learning content to appeal to the varying uses that TRB affects. So thanks, Kate. I think it's really exciting as well. So next slide. Maybe, so
I think, are there any other announcements that we missed? Because I think we're otherwise at the end of our content.
Yeah, anyone want to share anything exciting work that you're doing that we haven't addressed? I know a couple people put other events in the chat, and when we send out the notes, we'll include the chat transcripts so you have access to all of these exciting events. Like we could be attending events all our day jobs, right? And then who's going to do the work? Melissa put in the link to the tactile wayfinding, the report she mentioned. Yohai put in Association of Pedestrian Bicycle Professionals, June 15th deadline to register for that conference in Detroit. And then Bridging Transportation Researchers, that's directly aligned with what I was saying about the research to practice implementation. There's an online conference on August 7th and 8th. So yeah, let's represent AME50 in all these events. Great. Other things.
Yep, this is Yochai. I was just going to mention I'm part of this advisory committee on transportation equity that's through the Secretary's Office and the Civil Rights Division at USDOT, and the recommendations that we develop should be coming out soon, the report for that. And I look a lot to what we talk about and the research that goes on here and the needs that I learn about through this committee. So if folks have specific things that they want to make sure I'm aware of, as I think that committee may continue, I'd be happy to look over different things and help to pursue those ideas as recommendations. I'm one of the kind of co-chairs for a committee that's called Expanding Access, and so obviously has a lot of relation with what we do here. There's several other committees as well. So when you see that report, you can also, look at some of the different subcommittee recommendations and consider how, some of the things that are important to you can be addressed and improved on.
I love that, Yohai. Thank you. And it just dawned on me when you said that we need to be capturing information regarding how you all are using the content that we share in AME50. I mean, we're not a bubble, right? We're influencing the field, like the NAS meeting I talked about, the meeting, the national committee, highly visible National Equity Committee that Yohai is part of. We're all sharing and influencing the field. And so I think that this is Todd and I have to put our heads together with others and think about how are we really measuring the outcomes of what we're doing beyond what you all are doing, but how are we influencing the field? So just created more work for us, Todd, but just, I think it's important.
Absolutely, it's needed.
So, our next meeting, fall meeting, mid-October, and we promise that we'll send one URL for the Zoom. I'm sorry that it was so confusing this time, but we'll make sure that there's one URL and you all can access it. And we want to again, make ourselves available. Any of our leadership team, we're all wanting to support your work in any way we can. So please reach out to Todd and I, or Susan, Subash, Yohai, Chengbo, regarding any suggestions you have for continuously improving what we do. We want to strengthen our committee as written here. So anything else before we adjourn? We'd let you go 5 minutes early. All right. If not, thank you,
Judy. Thanks,
everybody.
Susan, everybody for coming.
Thanks. Have a great day. Good week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bye-bye.